be a sponge, and then bring the juice.
By focusing on your improvement, by focusing on your progress, and eliminating any fixed mindset that you may have and acts of perfectionism, then you encourage your own mastery.
On some level, we do what we want to do 24 hours a day. Now, sometimes it may not seem like that, but if I'm choosing to work instead of sleep, what I'm actually saying is keeping my job is more important than sleeping.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of getting beat. What can I do to get over this hump? So mentally, that's when I kind of put that forefront, like, hey, it's either all or nothing.
I like to put failure in quotations because I don't believe that failure is true failure if you're looking at it with the right mindset.
The truth is, the journey to greatness is hard. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, and every day you have to decide what you value, what you want to pursue, and what you want to achieve. And if you dig deep enough, if you push hard enough, we all have what it takes to be great. Welcome to the Edge of Greatness. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Edge of Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Charles Schultz, and today I've got a very special guest with me. He is Dan Bertolini, the coach of the Youngstown State Penguins for baseball, and he is entering into, I believe, his 5th year. Is that correct?
That's right.
Awesome. And since coming to YSU, I've seen a big shift in the culture, and things seem to be moving in the right direction. And last year, prior to the cancellation of the COVID stuff, YSU was off to one of its best starts in recent history and leading a lot of the categories in the Horizon League. So thank you, Coach Bertolini, for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. I've been listening to the podcast. You have some great stuff, so excited to be part of it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So how's life treating you right now up in the Yo?
It's been good. Yeah, you miss Youngstown or what?
I do. It's a special place. I'll tell you what, it's definitely growing up. The last time I was there, it's a whole lot different than when I was playing. So I think you guys got a lot of really great things going there, and I think it's on the right direction for sure.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We have great leadership, and obviously with President Tressel being here, him being able to continue to grow the university, just the entire footprint of the university all over downtown Youngstown. It's changed a lot. I mean, I grew up here, so I've seen the growth over the years, and even since I got hired here, things have really, really changed. So it's exciting, and it's a good time to be part of, to be a Penguin and be part of Youngstown State.
Yeah, it's really nice to have you, Tressel back in Youngstown for sure. I'm sure he's doing all the right things for especially the athletics and the university combined and moving it all in the same direction, which is really nice. So, you mentioned that you're obviously a Youngstown native. So how was it for you when you got to come back home and take over a program that's in your backyard, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I literally still pinch myself that I get this opportunity to be the head coach here. Anytime anyone asks, I mean, it's really a dream come true to get a chance. Ron took a chance. I was a 30-year-old head coach when I got the job here, and it's been something that's been passionate, been a part of me. A lot of my family, went to Youngstown State, graduated from Youngstown State. My mom and my both my grandparents graduated here when it was Youngstown College. So it's been pretty special. My kids get to grow up in the same community that I grew up in. We live in the same house, so it's awesome. Pretty special.
Yeah, no, it can't get much better than that. Get to coach, live your dream, and then also do it in your backyard. That's kind of awesome. So, let's dig in a little bit about kind of what we wanted to get into today. I want to really touch on some of the culture stuff that you've been building and some of the things that you've been doing to implement some change, because obviously Youngstown has had an up and down history when it comes to baseball, but I feel like you guys are trending in the right direction, especially with the way things were going last season. So talk to me a little bit about some of the things that you implemented when you showed up and how those things have kind of carried forward.
Well, it was definitely, it's been, culture is now everything. I mean, you look anywhere, I mean, it's the most important part of your team. It's more important than the talent that you have is the culture of your team. So we started to implement some things when we first got here. Our main slogan, we cleaned it up a little bit. It was make your best better. and now it's change your best. Make your best better was a little too much of a mouthful there. So, Coach Smith actually kind of cleaned it up a little bit and change your best. And we call it the Penguin Way, basically. And we're just trying to, we try to get, student athletes that are going to be committed to greatness at all levels. And our four main focuses are, in the community, in the classroom, obviously on the field, and then their development as a person, socially. So if we can get guys that are committed to excellence at all four of those things, we are moving it in the right direction. And ultimately the goal was, I think early on, the coaches have to establish the culture, but I think it's really taken that next step where now we are player led, which makes things, puts the onus on those guys and the responsibility on them. And we're fortunate that we've had guys that have been here now for 6 years with the COVID rules. So that culture is very easily cultivated through those players, because it means a lot to them, especially those guys that come back for those extra years. They could be doing anything else, but they decided to come back and represent Youngstown and try to win a Horizon League championship. So I think, just really identifying the right student athletes that fit Youngstown. And I think one of our players, Colin Floyd, said it best. Youngstown is a tough place. That's not a negative thing. It takes tough people to live here. So you got to find the tough players that are going to be able to represent Youngstown State. And I think that we've done a good job. Our staff's done a good job identifying those guys.
Yeah, I always think of Youngstown and the word grit. They kind of go hand in hand. And you got to have a little bit of grit. You got to be willing to take a few punches. You got to be willing to drag through the mud a little bit here and there. But you just got to be about the work in the right way. And I think that's the vibe that I always got when I was in Youngstown, and the people, and they're all just, salt of the earth, hardworking, do the right thing type of people. And I think that's awesome that you're kind of building in that direction. So I actually had in my notes here to talk about the change your best, because I thought that was really cool. I think that's a neat motto to carry forward, and it's a way of never being satisfied. And I think that's the key to consistent growth, and I think that's awesome. So how many seniors do you have this year? I mean, I know I've been watching kind of the Twitter stuff, and it looks like you've been highlighting a few of them, but I'm kind of curious where you're at with the senior led stuff.
Yeah, so we have 5 seniors. We had 6, and one of them, unfortunately, Zach Meny, was injured, and his career is going to be done. But 4 of those guys are 60-year seniors, and we have one 50-year senior. So some of these guys have been here longer than me.
Yeah. I was going to say they've been around a while.
Yeah. So Colin Floyd, Joel Hake, Gary Clift, Blaze Glenn, and I'm blanking here, and Nick Caruso, obviously. Okay. Those guys are all key pivotal points or positions for us. I mean, Nick's been a starting catcher for us now. It'll be 4 years. Colin Floyd's been a workhorse in our staff. Joel Hake's the all-time leading appearance guy. Gary Cliff was our closer last year, and Blaze has been an all-conference player. So those are 5 really pivotal spots.
Oh yeah.
And guys that are graduated, they're into their master's degree. Some of those guys are going to have finished their master's degrees. So they've been great representatives of Youngstown State, and we're fortunate to have those guys.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty special to be there for that long, to where you finish your master's and still get to play some ball. That's pretty cool stuff. Can't really beat that. So, for me, I'm a big person. I believe habits and routines are crucial. And I think for my baseball career, it was one of the things that helped me be successful. I'm curious, are there any things that you are working towards or have implemented from a habits or routine standpoint to help yourself or even your team? Let's start with for yourself on a daily basis, because obviously as a coach, you're constantly trying to learn and evolve and add new pieces. Are there any habits or routines that you do regularly that kind of help you stay motivated and focused on that?
Yeah, I mean, faith is an important part of my life. So prayer is obviously important. Something you do, early in the morning when I get up. And kind of have my routine. I got to have coffee in the morning. That's number one. That gets me going. Yep, exactly. And try to get some exercise early in the morning. Just get the blood flowing, and to get myself prepared to come to work. And then communication. I think communication is key. Whether it's communicating with our players or our staff, kind of checking in daily and seeing, how things are going. And then kind of finish the day with family dinner and some enjoyment with that. I think, having a work-life balance is so important, especially in our profession when we're gone for a lot of time. So being able to kind of get that down. But I think, you're constantly trying to get yourself better, whether it's listening to podcasts, whether it's watching videos. There's so much information out there now. It's probably the greatest and worst time to be part of baseball because there's just so much information out there.
Oh, yeah.
But you can get incrementally better every single day by just picking up new things from leadership or coaching or any of those things. And then from our players' perspective, I mean, their day's pretty much planned out. I really do think that the players people in general, people that have a routine and have self-awareness are the guys, the people that become most successful. And I think you could see it from our team, our guys that are the most dedicated, most committed to their process and most committed to understanding themselves and have a routine that they do every day. That you can see the success. And we try to do our best to instill some of those routines, whether it's offensively, defensively, pitching, whether it's deep breaths or, looking at your barrel or, any of the things you can do to kind of recenter yourself and focus yourself. Those routines are important. But, I think we develop those routines through, training, through mindfulness, through, work, lifting, and then obviously practice.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head with that one because when it comes to successful people, they tend to have this is my daily pattern of what I do, and they have it in blocks. And I think a lot of kids, especially the ones that I work with, they all want to play obviously at the next level. They all have these aspirations to play at a high level, but they have like no routine, no plan of the day. And they just wake up and go with where the breeze blows them. And the successful ones, the ones who go on to play at a program like yours or who go on to play after, are the ones who are most regimented. They have okay, I wake up at this time, I do this at this time, I do that at this time. And it doesn't have to be necessarily planned out, but like you said, there's a routine to what they're doing. There's a process to what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I do think that in baseball, and you were here, so you kind of understand that, as much as you want to have a routine, it is important though to have flexibility. There are some people that are so regimented in their routine, and when things don't go their way or the schedule gets mixed up, then you have to be able to adapt you have to be very adaptive. It's not basketball where the game's going to be played at 7:00. Who you're playing. There's not going to be any weather issues. We're here, and especially now in the COVID world where things change so dramatically, our players have to be, you have to be regimented in what you're doing, but you also have to have flexibility to be able to adapt. And the players that can adapt the best are the ones that are going to be the teams that can adapt the best are going to be the ones that are most successful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely perfect because, I always believe that you control what you can control and everything else is, you can have your routines, but if it's something outside of your control, you can't let it affect your process. Exactly. I mean, you're going to have bad moments. You're going to have bad calls. You're going to have bad hops. You're going to have bad things that happen in life. But if you just let those things affect your process, then that's when the trouble happens. So, you mentioned getting in the weight room with the kids. I want to talk a little bit about that because obviously that's part of what I do with the strength program stuff over at my gym. What is it that what have you been implementing for them? How are they going about the workouts this year? Has it changed at all with the COVID process? Kind of where are you doing with all that?
Well, we're fortunate. We have great strength coaches here. Matt's our head strength coach for baseball. He does a fantastic job with our guys. It has changed, I think as a whole, we haven't been able to be around each other as much as normal. So, a lot of the bonding stuff has become more virtual, and that weight room is a great time to stay connected, to get connected, to be able to push each other and kind of work as one. And it's been interrupted slightly. Each of our players have their own rack now, where before, you might have a few players, sharing it. So it's harder to, maybe motivate. You have to be very self-motivated because, you're just not allowed to be around each other as much as you can. But I think, obviously functional strength is the most important thing. We want our guys to be strong. I talked to a friend of mine who's he's the director of player development for the Minnesota Twins. And he talked to me about, he talked to our players and said the real difference that I noticed, and he played, briefly in the major leagues. He said the real difference that I noticed is big leaguers are physical. They're really, really, really physical. He's like, I really focused on my skill piece, and I didn't focus as much on my strength piece as I thought. My swing had to be perfect. I had to focus on this. But he's like, I really should have been just getting as strong as I can be and swinging a bat as fast as I could. He's like, that probably would have helped me more. So, it's so important that that our guys focus in the weight room, and we have all the the technology to be able to help our guys. We've got the cameras in each of the racks now that can measure the pressure that you're putting when you're putting in force into the ground when you're squatting, or the reps. They can do all those things, so that helps them. But good old fashioned hard work in the weight room and loving it. I don't that can be replaced.
No, I agree with that completely. I always tell my people when they first start working out with me, I've got a bunch of banners of places that kids have gone on to play at the next level. And I tell them, all the people who you see on that wall, the names, all the schools, those are the guys who are the strongest, or the girls who are the strongest in the weight room. The ones who absolutely just wanted to show up and put in work and get strong. Because you can get taught skills. You can evolve over time with your ability to do certain things, but you can't make up for lost weight room time. I mean, it's not, you can't go back and be stronger later, So,
sooner you can get strong is the faster you're going to see your growth, because strength equals success. There's not a whole lot to worry about. If you have some strength, you can get, like you said, I think you hit it on the head. You can work on your skill, but it takes a lot longer to work on your strength.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, with that in mind, is that something you actually look for when you go looking at your next set of recruits and the younger guys that you're bringing in? Are you talking with them or their coaches about the weight room stuff that they're doing, or is it a little bit more who they are as people? How's that recruiting stuff work for you? What are you looking for?
Well, yeah, I think first and foremost, it's the person. We're looking for quality people that that we can bring into our program that they're gonna add to our culture. Like I just mentioned Al with the Twins. He was saying, he made a good point. He said, if you're not a good person and not a good teammate, you better be really, really good, and you better never have a bad day, because the minute you start to struggle, the minute that it's really easy to get rid of you. So the first things first is we want to make sure we have good people, good families that are part of our program that represent us in the right way. But yeah, I think academics is part of that. We want just like we talked about. We had a 3.27 GPA as a group this year. We had 30 players above 3.0. So academics are important. We've won the Academic Excellence Award 3 years in a row for our team GPA being above 3.0. So I think it goes hand in hand. Players that want to be successful are players that are committed in the classroom. And then obviously, the strength piece is important. I do think that it is intriguing sometimes when you have a player that you see that has talent, but maybe hasn't been in the weight room as much, because now we can, mold them. And if they do get in the weight room more, then you can see maybe that skill development, getting better, their ceiling maybe a little bit higher.
Right.
But I think it, we have guys that maybe didn't love the weight room when they were freshmen, or love the weight room maybe when they were sophomores, but at some point it clicks and they see the success that happens from, okay, I put my time in and now I'm seeing the velocity gains that I want, or the speed gains that I want, or, I'm able to hit the ball at my exit velocity is increased because I put the time in the weight room. So I think it does take time. It's not something that everybody loves right away, because it's hard, really hard. And it takes time. You don't see instant gratification from the weight room. So, but yeah, I don't know if that was a roundabout answer.
No, that's perfect.
Question.
No, I like that.
It's important.
Yeah, no, and you actually touched on something I want to dig a little deeper in, because I think that this is another important topic for especially the younger guys who will be listening to this. You mentioned the instant gratification thing, and I think that's something that has become a problem for a lot of our younger athletes, because they want to see something change. And when you work on skill, you can get an instant response to a change that you make in your mechanics. Like if you are hitting and you make a tweak to your scap load or your hip hinge or whatever it may be, you can see an exit velo jump without any strength gains. Like it's, just mechanically. But in the weight room, and a lot of times, even as you go through college or the higher levels, it doesn't happen instantly. It's like a process of growth. How do you translate that to some of these guys who you can see some great potential in, but they're struggling with it themselves, to be patient with the process? How do you work around with that?
Yeah, that's a really challenging, as you see, baseball is so much between your ears. And it is tough now because, I think that technology has become an important tool, but it's instant gratification. Like I throw a pitch, I get to see how fast it was. I hit a ball off the tee, I can see how fast it was. So I know right away what what I'm doing. There's no guessing. You know what's happening right away. Where, and very rarely, and in baseball specifically, very rarely do you see guys that are willing to wait around to continue to grow and get better and develop. A lot of people, especially with travel baseball and everything, there's a lot of instant gratification going around. I want to play now and I want to be good right now. Mm-hmm. Well, it takes time, and very rarely do freshmen come in and are able to compete. Not I don't want to say compete skill wise, but mentally and physically, they're not most guys. I'm not saying you can't, but most guys aren't ready to do that for 56 games over the course of the year. So, we have to constantly, give them positive reinforcement, remind them, and I guess success stories from past players, hey, this guy came in as this and now he's this. Mm-hmm. It takes a while to build that trust where the player and say, hey, I saw this guy. He came in throwing, 83 and now he's 95. Okay, well, I'm willing to go through that process to get there. But it is a constant challenge. I mean, that's why you see so much transferring that happens, because guys want that instant gratification right away.
Yeah, it's a lot harder, I think, these days for kids to understand the patience side of things if they haven't been exposed to that before they get to something difficult, So somebody you should reach out to though is Eric Dietrich, because one of the greatest hitters in YSU history didn't play as a freshman. Like he had to wait his turn, and it turned out he ended up being one of the most prolific hitters that been through the program. But when I was there and he was a freshman, he had to wait his turn. He had to take his lumps and he worked through it. And he was about as mentally tough as you get, because he's a hard nosed, in your face kind of guy. And I, turned into being one of the better hitters that ever came through the program. But that'd be a fun one for your guys to listen to, because I think he would be pretty intense and also have the ability to tell you, like, look, I didn't go right away, but then look what I did, So.
Yeah, he's most recent Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Not what was it? Not last year, but the year before.
No, I believe it was last year.
Oh, was it last year? Okay, I didn't know if they did any last year because
Well, we did it right before it shut down. I think that was in February, right after our first pitch breakfast. We had the Hall of Fame dinner.
Nice, good. Yeah. I mean, he deserves it. He's worked really hard and he had a heck of a career over there for sure. So, here's an interesting one to kind of feed off of the stuff that we've been talking about. What would you tell the younger players that are looking to play at the next level that is the most important thing that they should focus their energy on? Like, I know a lot of kids want to get really good mechanics. They want to focus on their velocity numbers. They want to focus on all these different things. What would you say if you had to go back in your career and say, I'm going to get ready to go prepare myself to play in college? What would be something that you would take your knowledge now and start to apply it then?
Boy, that's a great question. Well, I think we kind of covered a little bit of it. Like, I would definitely go back and be in the weight room.
Okay.
I didn't spend that much time in the weight room. I didn't love it probably until I got to college. I would have went back and really worked on. I was very focused on my skills, defensively, offensively. I would have really focused more on my on my speed, on my strength. But I do think. And the other thing too is probably, understanding yourself, kind of taking time to do self-evaluations from time to time, because I think that it's great to have goals, but you also have to be realistic and understand, where you are now. It's not a bad thing to know, hey, maybe right now I'm not whatever level you want to play at, whether it's Division 1, 2, 3, whatever. I'm not there yet, but I can do this, and this to kind of assess myself to get to where I need to be. And I think that's probably the hardest thing for guys to really understand. Even here, that's what I think we've really focused on is kind of every so often we have certain checks. So we'll have the team vote on who they think should be in certain positions, who they think should be like the starting rotation, who they think should be the starting catcher, the closer, whatever. And we release those out to our team so they can see, where their teammates, where their peers kind of evaluate them. And if you're saying you should be the starting shortstop and you have nobody else on the team sees you as that, then maybe that's a time for you to say, okay, maybe I need to step back and refocus and figure out what I need to do to get to where I want to be. So I think it helps people kind of, dig deeper into their self-awareness. Because I do think there's such a lack of that at this point, being able to really understand, what's going on. So I think that would be really important. And I'd say the other thing is don't change teams. Get on a team, work your butt off, find a way to get into the lineup, and and you will be better off for that. No matter what the situation is, sometimes being in a tough situation, it might stink for the moment, but it's going to help you down the road. You're going to learn how to deal with failure, learn how to deal with adversity, and be able to move on and deal with it, because you're only going to deal with it more as you get older and as you move up in levels. It's only going to get tougher. So the best thing, that'd probably be the best advice I could give, is learn how to deal with adversity. And it might stink, you might hate it, and it might make you uncomfortable, and you might go home and say, I hate this coach or I hate this person. But I guarantee it, if you just stick it out, the coach will gain respect. Everyone, you'll have more respect for yourself because you stuck it out, and you'll be much better off for it, in the long run.
I think those are some great points, and it's interesting to me to hear the stay with one team thing, because when I was playing travel ball, or Legion ball was what I was playing, because they didn't really do the travel thing as much when I was coming through high school. Like, you didn't have a choice, but you went with one team. This was my team. This is who I was playing with. There's no deal with it. You're not good enough to play yet. You're going to wait your turn, and that ability to deal with the adversity and wait your turn and I guess kind of work through the process of that failure piece is, I think, what makes it interesting today, because so many kids, well, I'm not getting the playing time I want. Well, daddy's going to make a team for me, or I'm going to go to this team that's maybe not as good, but they need a whatever. And now I'm going to start, but I didn't really earn that job. And then they get to the next level where they have to earn it because there's nowhere else to go. They missed that. I also really like the self-awareness piece, because I think I had another guest on. I don't know if you heard the interview yet with Quentin Eberhardt. He's the strength and conditioning guy at Tennessee. And he talked about goal setting and self-awareness and understanding your abilities when you make certain things happen. And I think that's really cool that you touched on that too. So what is let's go back to where we're going here. What's the next phase for you guys with the kids coming back to school, and the season's probably going to be quick upon you with the way things were this year, and you probably had a longer break too, like everybody else, right? They've been gone since Thanksgiving.
I feel like.
Yeah. So, have you been checking in with them while they're gone? Is that something that you guys have been doing? Are you allowed to do that? Like, or there been Zoom calls?
We had a Zoom call, and we've been able to, we kind of touch base through a group chat that we have set up, and also I reach out individually to guys, just to see how things are going. This is a tough time dealing with COVID. Not only is it around, but it's, players, families, everyone seems to be, kind of in that mold of being from time to time getting it. Went through my family. So
here too.
Yep. So, just it's important. And I think it's more important now than ever that we check in with people, because, there's just I feel so bad for our players, for all the players at the NCAA level, for the high school kids that are getting, life has really went 180 in the last 9 months. Looking back to February and March, we were feeling pretty great about everything. And then next thing you know, I felt like we were the Browns,
Oh, yeah.
Finally get to where you want to be. And then COVID shuts it down. So,
right.
But we're, right now our guys will be back. All of our players are back now. They're required to get COVID testing, and we have protocols for that moving forward. Some of our guys that are from out of state, whether it's Pennsylvania or any other state that's in the travel advisory, have to do some self-quarantining. And then we'll start Monday with everyone available. I think we should have most of our guys back and ready to go. And then we'll start with individuals. So our players will do individuals for about 2.5 weeks, I think 3 weeks. And then we start practice January 29th. So we're inside, outside. I mean, we get outside as much as we can. Just that's the weather we're going to be playing in. So we might as well just practice in it. So we'll be outside as much as we can doing defensive work, team defense, stuff like that. And then we'll come inside into the Watts Center and hit. Obviously, we have a great facility in the Watts, being able to use that indoor facility we don't have to run around Bigley Center and, hitting those cages in there. So, but yeah, I mean, it's go time. It was really, really important that our players took care of their business. And, that's probably the hardest part of college baseball is at the most crucial time right before the season, they're not with us.
Yeah.
They're with us for 2.5 months. We're able to get them in the shape that we want them to, and then they're gone for a month and a half before we start practicing. So we're fortunate. We have great guys that are committed to winning and excellence, and that they are able to do, I trust them to be able to go home and do everything that they need to do, and then get back. We'll start a little bit slow at first just to make sure, especially with the quarantine guys, to make sure that they're in good shape. And we don't want injuries, hamstring pulls or, any of that stuff, because we're not ready to go yet. So we'll start, kind of slow in the weight room and on the field. And then, after week 2, we'll really start repping it up.
Okay. That sounds about normal for that. And, I was talking to a few people the other day, and they're talking about like, this is what it feels like to be a pro. Cause like you have so much time by yourself that you have to take care of your own business. And I think that's one of the crucial things, that because you've built a culture that's kind of moving in the direction that you guys have in mind, it's probably a little bit better off now than if this would have been like your first year there, where you're trying to build something and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, you can't talk to anybody for a while and the season's canceled and here we go. So I'm sure that senior leadership's probably stepping up real big right about now, kind of keeping people on the right track.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to, none of our staff have to do that much. Our seniors are reaching out to guys, making sure that they're doing what they need to do. And that helps, when it just means more, when everyone's on the same page and we're all kind of moving in the same direction. And we were fortunate my first year. We had a lot of seniors, and they were good kids. They wanted to be part of something. They wanted that, change. But it is more difficult, because you don't have those relationships. You haven't built that culture. We've only, that first year or two, we brought in, I think our first year we brought in 27 new players, our first recruiting class. And a lot of those guys are still here, still part of this. Our first recruiting class would have been seniors this year, but because of COVID, they're juniors. So we have a lot of guys, those freshmen. We have the guys that are seniors were still here from that class as well. So, it's kind of the perfect storm, even though it was unfortunate what happened last year. I think it's going to make us stronger and better for 2021.
Yeah, no, that sounds like you've got quite a bit rolling in, and a little bit more kind of on the horizon, even still, with the way you've been trending from last year to now this year, having that core group back for that extra year. And then you got that class of 27 right behind them. That's pretty awesome. So one more thing real quick, and then I'll kind of let you get back to getting ready for your team and stuff like that. With the younger guys looking to go and play at the next level, and you guys have been on basically no communication stuff, right? You were on lockdown too with the Division I stuff. What do you tell some of these juniors going into this year, where it's a big recruiting year, but they haven't had a chance to be seen by people like you? How would you want somebody who's interested in Youngstown State to reach out and connect or get seen or noticed? How would that work for you? What would something you're looking for?
Well, I think this is a crucial question, because right now it's so important to self-promote. It's so important to be able to, I think video is the very first thing you should do. There's a lot of great video services out there. I can't really get into naming names, but
that's fine.
There's a couple that are really good, that get your information out there, that'll have your videos. But I also think you got to be careful, because there's a lot of places, a lot of recruiting services that they just take your money, and they mass email. I think the biggest, if you want to go somewhere, and you need to personally write an email to that coach, or to that staff, and put something. I don't need to know, and I don't need to know that you loved baseball since you were 6, and you hit a home run when you were 12. Like, I need to know the information that's important, and I'm sure, I hope every guy that we recruit has been passionate about the game of baseball. They love it. They're hardworking. But I need to know, what's your SAT score? What's your ACT score? Let me see some video. Let me see what class you're in, your GPA, all those things. Your high school coach's phone number, your summer ball coach's phone number. Anybody that you think is important that I need to get a hold of, those people's phone numbers should be in there. And then a reason why you like Youngstown State. Hey, I was at camp, or I was at a tournament and we played at Eastwood. I really love the field. Whatever that may be, wherever school you want to go to. I'm using our example.
Right.
If you want to go to Vanderbilt, then you need to reach out to Vanderbilt. It's going to be hard for them to find you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of kids and this is the hardest time. It's like a job interview. You have to stand out. What's going to make you stand out. And if you can give me that information, then I can go online. I can look at your video. You can either send it to me. Now I can evaluate briefly. Hey, there's some skills there that I think that we like. We share the video amongst our staff. Let's check it out. Let me contact further, be able to get some more video, maybe some in-game stuff, talk to their coaches, talk to their, whoever we feel is important to talk to. That's really the best way, I think, to go about it. A lot of times the recruiting services that send out mass emails, I get 100,000 of those emails a year. Yeah. It's like, how are you going to get separated from there? Because I don't have time to read every single piece of email that I get. I probably got 20 emails since I've been sitting here. So,
right.
What's going to separate you? And if you can send me a personal email, I can tell when it's personal, and I can tell when it's a template that just has my name on it. Sometimes it doesn't even have my name spelled right. Sometimes it doesn't have even the right school. It'll say, hey, Coach Bertolini, I'm so excited to contact you to play at Kent State, because they didn't change the template. So find where you want to go to school, pick some schools, and then go visit those schools. Right now we can't do in-person visits, but you can visit schools through the admissions department.
Yeah.
So go through the admissions, go tour the campus, because you're going to spend a lot of time here. And if you don't like the university, then no matter how much you like the baseball program, if you can't see yourself going to school there, it's never going to work. So, I think those are, make sure you see the school, handwrite a letter, get some video, and really evaluate the schools where you think you can fit in. That doesn't mean, that goes back to that self-awareness piece. It doesn't mean I wanted to be a Division I baseball player. I wanted to play D1. It didn't happen. I got a great opportunity. I played Division II. I had a great career. I love my teammates. I love my coach. I met my wife there. So there's great baseball at all levels.
Yeah.
As much as I wanted to play here or anywhere Division I, it didn't work out, and I had a great experience. So find the places that fit, the best for you.
No, yeah, definitely. I think too many kids get stuck on the number that's behind the D instead of the fit. And not everybody's going to play at Vanderbilt. Not everybody's going to play at Florida. Not everybody's going to play D1. But a lot of people benefit better from those slower progressing positions where you play at a D2 or D3 because you weren't quite the right size or strength, or something was lacking that didn't get you noticed there. But then you developed it and you surpassed the person who went to D1 and didn't play, sat the bench or did whatever. Like, there's other things that are important about this. And I think that's, you really touched on that. And I think that's important for the kids coming up to understand, to have a list of schools, but have some from multiple divisions, have some from multiple places, and don't be afraid to reach out and connect with you guys. And I think that's what a lot of the kids fear is like, oh, they don't even respond. What do I do? And I was like, just keep emailing them. Like, if they see your name consistently, there's more likelihood that they're going to eventually be like, hey, what's going on? When are you free? Can we talk? And I think that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Or have your high school coach or summer coach reach out.
Okay.
I think that's a good avenue as well. Or, anyone that is an advocate for you, if they reach out. I mean, if someone calls me, I'm 100% going to return the phone call and talk to him, even if it's not a fit for our program or isn't going to work. If you take the time to do that, I think most college coaches are going to say, hey, I respect what you're doing. I'll call you back. We'll evaluate as a staff. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But we appreciate when people take the time to do that, because it's so hard to find. There's so many players out there right now. It's really difficult. It's really, really difficult for recruiting. The character piece is almost way more important now than the player piece, because there's so many players available at this point.
Right.
I feel terrible for the 2021s and 22s.
Yeah, me
You
too.
know, I mean, normally we'd be recruiting those guys. We'd have players committed, but there's such a backlog in players all over the country. It really is going to be difficult. So I would say the other piece would be patient. Be patient. A lot of people want to sign now. They want to get committed today. Like, be patient. Pick the right school. You know, pick the right place where you can see yourself for 4 years or 5 years or a lifetime. You know, hopefully you're a proud Penguin.
Oh, absolutely.
You're a Penguin for life. And where you go to school is hopefully going to be you'll be proud to tell your kids you went there, your grandkids. It's an important piece of your life. So pick that place that really, really fits what you're trying to do.
No, I agree. Because I still talk about my time at YSU, and I don't know if you can see on the wall behind me, I've got my 2003 Louisville Slugger All-America and the first letter I got and all that good stuff. And on the other side of me, I've got when we made it to we won the conference championships on the other side over here. So like that stuff's all over my office walls, and you know, it's up here on this side. And I think that's something that, you know, you want to be in a place that you can go compete, you can feel good, but then when you leave, you're like, man, that place was special, you know? And that's how I feel about Youngstown is it wasn't always a great time, but it was something I look back and I go, I learned every opportunity, or everything along the way helped me learn something new. So definitely a good fit. And that's a great piece of advice for you young guys out there and you young girls out there who are trying to get to the next level. Be patient, keep emailing, keep talking, connect with these coaches, because they're trying to find you as much as you're trying to find them. And right now it's very important to reach out to these coaches and connect. So I want to leave with one thing. What's the last book you read?
Oh boy. Probably The Energy Bus, probably the last book I read.
I like that one.
Yeah, I really enjoy John Gordon's work. I have a lot of his books.
Yep.
And there's a couple still on my list. There's some books that I really want to get after and read. I guess the last book I read was probably the Bible, but I didn't read that whole thing. I can't read the whole thing.
Takes a little while to get through.
Yeah, just in pieces. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of great books out there. Another book I really liked and finished not too long ago was 11 Rings.
Ooh, okay, I haven't done that one yet. I'll have to put that on my list.
Phil Jackson's book.
Yeah, Phil Jackson's. He's legit. I like him a lot. So
yeah, very, very much about mindfulness and
yes.
Yeah, he's got a lot of the Zen stuff in him. So it's a good book.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll have to check that out. Well, thank you so much for taking time with me today. I know you got a lot going on and getting ready for the season to start, so I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me and my guests. Good luck this year, and I hope that you bring home that Horizon League championship that's been right at our fingertips there for a little bit. So
yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and you're doing great work. So keep up the good work.
Well, I appreciate that as well. So, all right, guys, remember, keep reaching for the stars, fall flat on your face. But remember, whenever we fall, always get up.
Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. If you haven't yet, please take a minute now to subscribe and review our show. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But remember, no matter what happens, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.